Welcome, everybody, to the Detecting History podcast mini-series, The Detectorists, on The Detectorists. And we are on Season 1, Episode 2. And I have my wonderful co-host, Karl, Mental Detector, with me. How are you doing, Karl, this week?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Katie?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to go through Episode 2. I really enjoyed last week with Ellie. And
Yes,
this
it was
week,
fun.
our guest is Detectorosst. So we've got Ross here with us this week to help guide us through the episode. How are you doing, buddy?
Good, thank you very much. Not too bad.
Good.
Got my guiding hat on.
Guide us through.
I'm going to say, for those who can't see him, he isn't actually wearing a hat.
Yeah, it's totally lying.
Metaphorical hat.
Exactly.
So did you enjoy, first of all, Ross, did you enjoy episode 1 when you watched it? And what's your history with the Detectorists? Have you ever watched all of the seasons before? Or is this your first time watching? Or is this your first time watching now as a Detectorist yourself?
It is probably I think it's the first time properly watching as a Detectorist. I know everyone says, "Oh, I've watched it 100 times." It's not an exaggeration. It's probably 5-6 times completely through that I've watched them all. I tend to be one of those people who gets the DVD box sets for Christmas and things like that, or ask for it. So then when I get them, even though it's on Netflix and I've seen it as it came out on BBC, and then I watch it when it comes out on Netflix or iPlayer, and then I get the DVD box set. And because someone's bought it for me, I have this obligation to watch it again on the DVD. So there's that, and then it's again on Netflix. And so yeah, probably whatever I said then, 5 or 6 times. And now as a Detectorist, this is probably I partially watched it, and then I'm now doing it again for this.
It's funny you say that, because on the last episode I was saying that the Detectorists I got as a box set for Christmas a few years ago, and it's the one box set that I religiously keep out, and no matter what streaming service it's on, I will watch it on DVD.
Yeah, feel like you're cheating whoever bought it for you, or if you bought it yourself, the money you spent, even though it's like watching a film that comes on Film 4 or Channel 4 one evening, even though it feels more special that it's on TV and you can watch it now, even though you've got it already. It's,
yeah.
There you go. One of those weird
common ground already between you two. I haven't got it. I feel left out. I'm going to put it on my Christmas list. So I need the box set, please. So this episode, so season 1, episode 2, first was on TV on BBC 4 on the 9th of October 2014. So we're saying that's a good 9 years ago that this premiered. And so we launch into episode 2, which has the title Mole. So it's a beautiful sunny day again, and both Lance and Andy are detecting on the pasture field. So this is back on the bishop's permission that they've got, I think. And Lance is again asking Andy what he's got. So this is similar to the first episode. Yeah. And Andy looks down and he tells him he's found a Matchbox car. So a Chevrolet. Corvette.
Yeah. Although it's a slightly better first find than in episode 1.
Yes.
It's getting a little bit better.
Yes, they're honing in. But I thought this was brilliant because he was like, how on earth does this get in the middle of a field in Essex? And I was like, that's something we all ask. And that's been a theme on the main episodes of the podcast when people talk about the weird and wonderful things they've found, or the frustrating, like, can of Red Bull, sit like a foot down in the middle of a field, nowhere near anything. Yeah. We all do that, don't we? And go, how did that get there?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's probably just a couple of kids. It's nice. I think there's a bit of a metaphorical thing where you've got these two children playing with these cars in a field at one point. Obviously, not far gone in history because it's a modern car, but two kids playing together, and then two Detectorists out playing together in the field as well.
Yeah,
quite nice.
No, you're right. And then Lance asks Andy if he heard about Bob Cromer, who's dead. And he got by the lightning. So Andy's mega shocked. He's like, how did it happen? And then Lance explains, well, you know why? And then explains that the best finds always appear right before a thunderstorm. and then you get sucked into digging out that best find or the best signal. The storm's coming upon you, and then it's too late. And apparently they all died running, because they're obviously running from the storm. There's 3 of them, I think.
Yeah, Greg Peters and Janet Horswell.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And it took me back to a couple of months ago. Do you remember when we had quite a few storms just at the end of the summer, the hot season, and I myself was in the middle of a field by a big tree, and I had my headphones on, and I heard like this mad noise, and I was like, what is that? And I took my headphones off, and just as I did that, there was another clap of thunder and lightning, and it was coming towards me. And I did the same thing. I pegged it into the woods because I thought I'll be safer in the woods than out in the middle of this field. Then I had to sort of do about 1.5 kilometers walk in torrential rain and then hope I didn't get zapped by anything. But yes.
So it's a place you're not supposed to go, isn't it, under a tree? But
yeah.
It just feels
we
like
don't
it
make
was
us
in
as
the
they
woods
are, as they're known.
Yeah. I thought I had a better chance in the woods, and I was fine anyway, so it's fine. And then, of course, Lance gets signal, and then he pulls out something, and Andy's like, what you got? And he's found a Pontiac Firebird. So that's the second car, isn't it, as you're alluding to, Ross? These 2 kids would have been playing out with their cards and then lost them that day. Okay, so we move on, and they're both sat under the lunchtime tree, as I think it's called, and they're having a rest. And Lance is going on about his magical coffee, isn't he? He's obviously got some swanky coffee. But that Andy doesn't want any. And then he starts talking about getting the band back together. To which Andy is like, are we doing a band? And he's like, yeah, we're doing a band, aren't we? And then, of course, Andy asks the mistake of what the band was called. Did you get what the band was called?
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot.
It's Fanny Magnet,
It is.
which is John Richardson. John Richardson, you know, the guy who's on
Oh, yeah.
10 Cats Does Countdown.
Yeah.
And the stand-up, his stand-up DVD was called Funny Magnet, which I quite liked. The play on, obviously it nothing to do with this, but yeah, Funny Magnet, which is funny because of the 2 of them, not the most obvious stories. I like just before that he says about Lance does that. This is a damn fine cup of coffee, and then he goes to ask a question to Andy, and then Andy answers it Twin Peaks before he's got a chance to finish the question.
Yes.
And I like that this throughout every episode. Well, not every episode, but there's every time they're at that tree, they're chatting about QI and
University Challenge,
and they just seem to University Challenge, and they just read each other's. They know what they're going to say. I don't know if that's because I know obviously Lance repeats things because he did that in episode 1 about Maggie being the battle axe. But there is that, just the fact that they do know what each other's going to talk about, and it's quite a nice sort of brotherhood, I suppose. Nice bond.
Yeah. After all those years together, he can just predict that he's going to try and impress him.
I actually found the Twin Peaks clip yesterday on YouTube of him saying a damn fine cup of coffee. So that's a boring fact, but it's available.
There you go.
I'm trying to think of his name. Agent, what's his face? It's the same guy who has the cherry pie, isn't it?
Oh, I've never seen that.
Twin Peaks? Oh, right. Oh, okay. No. I won't reveal too much then.
We're going to have to look it up, folks. Look it up afterwards. Right. So he's talking about the fact he's written a new song, hasn't he? And this is why he wants to get the band together.
Yeah.
And Andy's like, okay, what's this song called? And of course, he's called it New Age Girl.
New Age Girl.
So, yeah, you can see it in Andy's eyes. He's like, is this about Maggie? No, Lance is like, no.
It's a good song, actually. I mean, obviously, we'll come to that a bit later, but I quite like it.
Yeah. It was not so bad, is it? It's not so bad.
Appropriate title as well, because it hints at Maggie because of
crystals and cosmic. Yeah.
Oh, Crystal Encounter.
Yes, that's it.
Like
yeah.
Like the tarot cards and
hints
stuff.
At her.
Yeah, all the incense sticks and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So Lance then invites Andy round because it's Tuesday, isn't it? And Tuesday night is metal detecting club. So Lance invites Andy over. He says he'll cook for him again, lucky him, and he'll play his song for him. So Andy's like, yeah, okay, all right, you've got me. And then some people are approaching in the distance, aren't they? And Andy's like, who's that? Simon and Garfunkel. So we get our first introduction to the antiquity searchers, don't
Yeah.
we? With their
Yeah, and they were mentioned in episode 1, weren't
Yes.
they? But
Yeah, they were.
Yes.
they were just in passing, stealing permissions again and spying.
Yes, they're the baddies of the story, aren't they? Absolutely. And they rock up with their ancient antiquity equipment, don't they? Which is quite funny. I was looking, and he's got
The
this this massive thing on him, hasn't he? Where he's like carrying it around, and obviously that's the speakers on his belt there. And I was just like, wow.
See, I really like that
Dorado.
scene. I like that scene because it shows like the broad range of detectors. So obviously, there's Lance with his CTX, there's Andy with his Deus,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Simon or Garfunkel, I can't remember which one, or the real names even. Yeah,
Simon,
with his like
yeah.
little Garrett, I don't know, 150 or 250, whichever one it is.
That's right.
And then the other one
Yeah.
that is literally like an antique.
That's it.
I when I was on the episode before with the UKT, my podcast, I said about the comparison with fishing and detecting.
Yeah.
And actually, you see this in fishing as well. You go out with a broad range of people, and I said, generally men, although that's obviously changing in both hobbies, but generally men. And then there's a range of ages, and the elderly fishermen often come out with this really classic, that they would call classic, but it's basically rods made of bamboo and things like that, and old fashioned reels and stuff like that. So it's nice to sort of see this played out in detecting as well, not just in the program, but generally that people have older kit that they trust and have used for years and don't want to upgrade. So it's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simon or Garfunkel, whichever one it is, we need to learn which one's which. Says about Lance's CTX Mine Lab. And he's saying, yeah, it's a good machine. And then he says, well, it's a bit flashy, doesn't he? He immediately puts him down and starts digging. And Lance bites back, doesn't he? And then Andy's like, have you got permission? No, actually, they ask. The antiquity searchers ask them both if they've got permission to be there, don't they? Which is all a bit suspicious because we know for a fact that they don't have permission to be there. And they start going to and
I
from.
actually think they were. I think that it was they were cast in the bad light, and it was actually the inverse of that, because Lance had this immediate kind of negativity towards him when they came over.
Yeah.
He said about feeling groovy, which is obviously a mock, and they actually started quite politely, and then they started to bite back, and it was only then when they bit back, or Lance and Andy bit back, that the permission got, they questioned about the permission. So I think they had a bit of a negativity towards them because of believing they might be antiquity searchers prior to them walking over, or maybe it's just this defensiveness of permissions thing that you see.
I think that's what it probably is. Like, if you get your own permission and you're so sacred about it, you don't tell anybody where it is or what you found on it. Yeah, I think there's a bit of everything in that scene.
Yeah, because you don't want anyone basically nicking your permission, do you? That's what it is.
I mean, I haven't got any permissions, so if I get one, I don't even want the landowner to come near it.
Evict them.
Sorry, I'm on it. Get away.
Off you pop. Oh dear. So they start going to and from and accusing each other of being immature, don't they? And then Andy says, well, we were here first and we've got an agreement with Bishop. He's giving us exclusive rights, 50-50 on any fines. And then, of course, Simon and Garfunkel say, well, they'll need to make a more attractive offer then, won't they? And it's all starting to get a bit nasty, isn't it, at that point? So Andy accuses him that he's acting like a Bond villain, doesn't he? They're both really starting to be mean to each other now, the two sets of guys. And then Simon of Simon and Garfunkel sort of has a bit of hay fever, so he obviously has to wipe his eyes. And Lance really goes in on him then, doesn't he? And he's like, "Oh, don't cry,
mate.
don't cry."
And he milks it for about 5 minutes.
That's awful.
He does, doesn't he?
You want to buy my hanky?
They're like hundreds of meters away, and he's still going, "Don't cry, don't be sad." Oh dear.
Oh, the pettiness is so
Yeah.
brilliant.
It is.
It's so childish.
It's very accurate. So then they agree they need to let Bishop, or go and speak to Bishop and tell him he can't let them on. And Lance is off once again to help Maggie, isn't he? So he can't do it. So he says to Andy, you've got to go and speak to Bishop. And Andy's like, "Oh, I'm not good at talking to people, but I'll try." So we go to the next scene, and of course Andy is at Mr. Bishop's door. And one of my dogs just got whacked by a cat then. Are you all right? So Andy goes to see Bishop.
You can see your dogs.
And yeah, I can see them. They're real, honestly. This isn't a parody on the program. Andy goes to see Bishop to warn him about rogue detectorists, and he puts a bit of fear into him, doesn't he? And he goes, "Oh, there's these rogue detectorists going around. Don't give them any permission. They'll just sort of steal from you." And it's at this point Mr. Larry Bishop remembers about some jewelry bits that had been ploughed up in the past, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then Bishop starts talking to his invisible dogs again, and he says he'll keep an eye out for those things. So immediately you're intrigued, aren't you? What are these things going to be? Are they going to be genuine things, or is it going to be something mad and random? You're not quite sure with this character.
Yeah. Mentions Justine as well, which alludes to be his wife, but not sure.
Yes, the missing wife.
Justine didn't want them. Thought they were costume jewellery.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bit of old tat.
Yeah.
So we then cut, and Lance is indeed helping Maggie again, getting stuff out of the van. She's been off somewhere random to get lots of new things for the crystal shop, hasn't she?
Oh yeah,
And
the
it's
mystery
quite funny
boxes.
because she's like, "Oh, it's really cheap. You just the mystery box,
mixed spiritual."
Yeah. You just don't know what you're gonna get. It is very funny,
again,
and he's obviously been trying to impress her.
I feel like that could be like another metaphor for metal detecting. Like, she doesn't know what's in these boxes. You're out metal detecting. You never know what you're going to find. It's like there's like similar parallels going on there.
Yeah, I suppose
that's really true,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, you never know what it's going to be. Same with her mystical boxes, I suppose. And then she starts asking him, and he's obviously been trying to impress her by saying that he's going to do this song, isn't he, at the pub? So she's saying she used to love it when he played his mandolin, and it reminded her of Kermit the Frog. Which I was just like, "Oh, ouch!"
And then he corrects her and says,
to hear.
"Kermit played a banjo."
Yeah, that's right.
Back with his facts, actually. It was a banjo. Oh gosh. And then Tony appears, and it must just be like a dagger through Lance's heart every time he sees Tony appear. And he's all bedraggled and in a dressing gown because apparently he's got his herniated discs. So Lance is like, "Oh."
I love Tony's character. He's like the complete odd one out through the whole series. You know, he's like just a normal person, and everyone else who does detecting and stuff obviously aren't normal. So you've got the normal guy who's just, you know,
a guy
just bemused by his wife and her associated friends' hobby and everything else.
Yeah, and he just smiles at him whenever he's talking, doesn't he? You can tell Tony doesn't respect Lance in any way. And then, of course, she checks in that Lance is going to take her mum to bingo. So Tony's like at the football. He says that Tony's doing the football, and you think, "Oh, okay, Tony's busy." But it turns out actually Tony's just going to be sitting around watching football at home.
Yeah.
And so they're again
playing. No, watching. Portman Road. No, TV.
Exactly. So poor Lance once again. Feel really sorry for him. Still feeling sorry for him. I was feeling sorry for him in episode 1, and still feeling sorry for him in episode 2. And then we cut to a really funny scene. So this is where Andy is waiting for Becky outside the school. And he's just kind of casually there, isn't he? Like looking at his phone, leaning up against a tree outside of school. And then he gets a
This
phone.
is my favourite scene. I don't know if it's my favourite scene of the entire series or just this episode, but it's definitely.
It's so well done. It's so well written, isn't it?
Love it.
So yeah, the police community support officer approaches him, asking him if he's got kids in the school, doesn't he? And Andy's like, no, he hasn't got any kids. And then the officer asks him what he's doing there. He's waiting for his girlfriend. And then the police officer goes, which class is she in? And then the penny drops, doesn't it?
Chaffinch, I think. I love the fact he goes, all the kids in Chaffinch have left. No, she's a teacher. She's not she's a teacher. Oh, I have to reaffirm that. Like this, just the policeman takes it. It's so blasé that I think all the children are gone from the class. I can't believe the acceptance of that.
I know. Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. And then he explains that his girlfriend's the teacher, as you say, Ross. And then he says, "Oh, well, you were making some of the mums nervous." So Becky luckily approaches. She's surprised. She's pleasantly surprised that Andy has taken a bit of time for her and has turned up to meet her to walk her home. To which Andy says, "Do I look like a paedophile?" And she's ever so comforting. She goes, "Well, you do have a bit of a look about you," but she reassures him it's more of a drug dealer look than a paedophile look.
Yeah. And he does kind of, there's a sliding scale between whether he's at the paedophile end or the drug dealer end. He's somewhere, and one day it might be more one end than the other. So it's up and down. Definitely could pass for both.
Yeah, exactly. But he states that he feels better.
I love how he just says, "Oh, that's all right then," and just so nonchalantly takes it. I think it's really quite good humour throughout everything. To mock him from his partner.
Exactly. Oh dear. So they two go off and they're walking home through the park, and they're saying, she's teasing him, isn't she? Because he's obviously been talking about Lance and helping him with the band at the pub. And he's saying, Lance isn't my boyfriend, because, there's that slight element of jealousy, isn't there, from Becky and the amount of time they spend together, I think. And then he's talking about the band, and Becky at this point asks what the band was called. And he says, oh, I don't know. But we know that he knows because he said earlier on, didn't he, that it's the fanny magnets, wasn't it? But he chooses not to reveal the name to Becky.
Imagine telling her that.
Yeah, you won't let that one down.
The license to laugh at those.
No.
No.
I don't think
no,
so.
Especially given what he's just been referred to as.
Exactly. He doesn't want to cause any more friction with Becky with that one. So he's explaining it's in the White Horse next Thursday. And she's saying she can't come because she's got 30 stories to read and mark and all the rest of it. So unfortunately, she won't be able to go. And then we get to one of these famous scenes. So Andy is working again. It must be the next day. And he's cutting grass on the public highway. So is this one of those Easter eggs again that you were talking about, Karl?
He's using a strimmer, so it's like he's swinging it, like he's swinging his detector, like in the other episode 1 when is he polishing the floor or mopping? I can't remember which.
It's
the same movements, and he finds the button, and now he's got the strimmer. Yeah, just look.
And finds a toad.
And he puts it in his pocket. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And I think he probably took it home and polished it up as well. Put in some vinegar bath.
Looked it up to try and work out where it's from. So and again at this point, and the same with the previous episode, it's at these points that Andy will then have obviously been thinking about things, and he chooses to call up Lance, doesn't he, again? And Lance is he's just crashed actually with his forklift by the looks of things, and there's a big box of Swedes all over the place. And he asked if he spoke to Bishop just to make sure he wasn't going to entertain the antiquity searchers. And he says he'll tell him all about it when he comes over. And then he states that he's on the A404. I didn't know if that had any meaning to anything, the A404, the road that he was working on or not. It seemed a bit of a random reference?
No, it doesn't ring any bells to me, unless it's an old Roman road.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Maybe. Might have to look that one up. I didn't know if you'd have noticed anything. Okay, so we are now in Lance's house. So famously, Lance likes to cook for Andy. And we've got a close-up of a treasure chest of the fish tank. And Lance is, questioning Andy on Bishop. And Andy's saying that, Bishop did say he has some artifacts somewhere that had been found before. So Lance is obviously really interested in that. So he serves up his food, which is sweet surprise. The surprise being how bland it is, and it doesn't look great, does it?
Oh, that is bland.
Exactly. Oh, very bland. So yeah, they're talking about should they tell the club, the metal detecting club, about Bishop's Farm yet? Andy asks. So Andy always sort of wants to do the right thing and be upfront and transparent, doesn't he? But Lance is like, no, let's keep it to ourselves because someone will tell the beards, and I'm assuming he means the beards being archaeologists. So he doesn't want people to know yet.
Yeah.
He said as well. Did you see he used the word tambourine instead of time being?
Oh
No.
no.
He said, "Let's keep it to ourselves for the tambourine,"
Oh no.
which I think is another word, one of his little idioms. But yeah, meaning for the time being.
Ah, well spotted. No, I didn't catch that one at all. So then Andy starts asking him about his song, doesn't he? And this is quite funny. So Lance says he's developed a problem in that he can't stand up. And Andy's like, yes, you can. I've seen you do it. But then he explains he can't stand up and play the mandolin at the same time. So Lance has got himself in a pickle, hasn't he?
Yeah. So did he reveal he needs a cushion here or not? I can't remember.
Can't remember if he reveals
I can't
about a
remember from that.
cushion. No, I think at this point Andy just can't believe that he's going to do it still. So he asks us to. He says to him, "Well, just sit down then and play the song." And it's at that point that Lance sits and sings his song, and it's quite poignant, isn't it? His little song.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's very, very sweet. And when you actually see it played in the pub later as well, it really kind of just creates a lovely, quiet atmosphere.
Yeah,
Everyone's silent after they clap, but it's one of those songs.
yeah. It's a heartbreaker.
It was good.
A heartbreaker.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. And
go on.
no, I was just going to probably say what you're going to say, which is what Andy says about it, which is that it's quite good, and he's astounded it's that good. And he says, "Oh, you think it's astounding?" No, I'm astounding. I'm astounding. I'm astounded. It's quite good.
Exactly.
Still keep him down a little bit.
Yes, you've got to keep the facts right, Lance. Oh gosh. So then we're back at the club, and it's that familiar scene of everyone sort of gathered around the kitchen hatch, isn't it? When everyone gets their tea and cake and stuff, and Sophie's there, and this is where we really first get introduced properly to Hugh. And Hugh is asked about his year by Lance. What have I written there? I can't read my own notes there. A little note here. Right, I know what I said now. So Hugh is asked about his gear by Lance. So he's asking what machine he's using. And he says he's got the VK30. And Lance is saying, yeah, that's a solid detector. So again, it's another one of the detectors, isn't it, spoken about. And then Lance shouts over to, because he mistakenly thinks that maybe it was one of those that found a hoard, so shouts over to Terry, and then Terry says, no, it's an XP So you hear again about another brand.
Yeah.
So again, the first time I watched this meant nothing to me. I was like, oh, you could be saying anything.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, same here. I didn't even think about what the detectors they might have used. Didn't occur to me that there were different brands or anything. I mean, I would, it's an obvious thing that there would be, but and so it's only since watching it as someone who actually uses a detector that I'm actually now curious to see if they've covered the brand over because it's product placement, or if they actually are open with the brands, and they have been open with it, which is good. So yeah, it's really quite interesting now seeing those little details that I hadn't considered.
Interesting. I wonder if they had to have permission to talk about each of the brands.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to look up. But I'm guessing if it's not just one brand and it is just all the brands, maybe they have to cover like all the major brands and they're not receiving any kind of funding or anything from any particular brand. Maybe that's okay, I suppose. Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they slagged off the Orado, so hopefully they're not singing.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be out for
Yeah.
blood. So Sophie's asking Lance and Andy about Bishop's place, and then Lance is like, "How do you know?" And she's like, "Why is it such a secret?" Yeah, exactly. And Lance is doing his best to make sure everybody knows they're still just at the researching point and they're not actually got the permission or anything.
Thing is, though, she says, "Oh, you've got the permission," and then Lance says, "How do you know?" And then she says to Andy, "You told me," but Andy never told her. Obviously, this is her
Mm-hmm.
and spying. So this is where that that spying is coming in. So I think it's he's kind of questioned himself then, and that's the first sort of nugget of doubt potentially, because later on he refers to not thinking he told her either.
Yeah.
And it's that first nugget of doubt where later on, obviously, we reveal later what happens. But
Oh, no spoilers.
yeah,
No spoilers.
no.
But yeah, it's the first point, isn't it? Where it's just like, hang on, did that really happen? So yeah, and then we hear that Lance is saying it's not secret, they're just researching it. But then Terry is talking about the Bob Cromer death, isn't he? He's saying that, Bob ignored basic health and safety. It's day one of metal detecting school. And then Sophie asks, is there such a place? And I thought that was quite funny. Is there like a metal detecting school we all go to?
The naivety.
And Andy's like, no, there's definitely not a metal detecting school. And then Terry says he's proud of no fatalities in the DMDC in the last 3 years. So I was like, hang on a minute, I couldn't remember who died then 3 years ago. Anyway, Terry says he wants to keep it that way. And then Terry,
But I like that. Sorry, there's an element. I think that is just a line for to be a joke, because obviously a 3-year no death record is not a good record
no.
at all. But he talks about it as if it's a proud thing to be in possession of as a record. And it reminds me, there's an Alan Partridge, or that Steve Coogan character from way back, where he's actually like a pool attendant or something like that, and he boringly reveals year after year, in 1982 there was no deaths, in 1983 there was one death, and then he just does it year by year, no deaths, no deaths, no deaths, and it reminded me of that. But there's also, I don't know if this is deliberate or not, because this came out in 2014. In 2013, the Alpha Papa Alan Partridge film came out, and his assistant, well, not assistant, the guy who worked at the hotel in the Travel Tavern, Michael the Geordie, died allegedly trying to save his life at the end on Cromer Pier. So there's 2 Cromer-related deaths in Partridge, and then probably nothing to do with each other at all. But it's just interesting, the choice of the word Cromer for his surname.
Well spotted. Yeah, I would have never have got that in a million years.
No.
Who knows? So Terry then wants to talk to Lance and Andy about Bishop's mission. They say they're just researching it. They're really keeping this under wraps. And then Terry's quite enthused about that. He says you can never do too much research. He abides by the 3 R's, and he asks you, what are the 3 R's? And then everyone goes, research.
I invented that, he said.
Yeah, I invented that. And then we pan to the finds table, and it's a sad sight, isn't it? Because we've got the 2 Matchbox cars that Lance and Andy found at the beginning of the episode, and then 1 spoon, which
from
is
the
Hugh's
little
spoon,
chef.
isn't it? Exactly. It's a little chef spoon, which is so
and then he
funny.
just walks off so disappointed, like, oh, come on, you can do better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And also no product placement there either, because Little Chef no longer exists.
Oh, of course, yeah. No. So Terry tells them to do better, change the batteries on the detectors. He's a bit exasperated, isn't he, with the rubbish finds? He's not a fan. So you get Andy and Sophie walking away from the pub, and Sophie is probing with Andy about why the secrecy, isn't she? And then Andy lets more information slip to Sophie. He's talking about the Saxon ship burial that they think's around there somewhere, King Sexred of the East Saxons, and they're talking about Bede, aren't they? Bede says it so in the Historia. Oh, I can't say that word.
Ecclesiastica.
Yes. That book, that one that rolls off the tongue. So
Yeah.
Sophie says she'll help out. She's being a mate. She's going to do some digging at her uni. That's of course if Lance doesn't mind, she says. So Andy's up for it. And he just defends Lance, saying he's just protective and doesn't, like the antique researchers. So he does defend his mate there, doesn't he, as to why he's being so cagey.
Yeah.
So we go back to we cut to Lance, who's already at home and he's practicing his song, isn't he? And he's sort of talking himself through how he's going to introduce it in the pub on the night. And he's sat on the floor drinking a can by himself, isn't he?
Yeah, we've all done that as well.
Yeah.
Sat cross-legged with a can and just been talking about planning what you're going to say to introduce a song.
Yeah. How he's talking about how his heart's been trampled and all this kind of stuff, and how you don't know what you got until it's gone. So again, poor Lance, but he's getting ready. He's getting ready for his big night, and that's what we like to see.
Even says at the end of the final version about she'll leave with the manager of Pizza Hut. So it's like so like generic and then dreamy and then specific. So we definitely know if we're any doubt that's about Maggie now.
Exactly. He's still getting that anger out, isn't he? So Andy's at home and he's telling Becky the song is actually surprisingly good, and Becky's probing him, isn't she, on the lyrics and whether it's about Maggie. She wants to know the goss. And she asks if Andy's going to sing, and he says he might do the harmony. He's well up for it at this point, isn't he?
I just love how she bursts laughing every time she's doing it.
Yeah.
I really like their relationship. All shit about fancying Fiona Bruce in episode 1, and the way she just kind of, there's that kind of just mocking of each other, but just they take it, and there's no kind of real grudges either. She goes to the pub in episode 1, he goes to the pub with Lance in episode 1, and she says, it'd be quite nice on Saturday night to go to the pub at the corner of my road with a couple of dicks. But she doesn't kind of hold a grudge. She just kind of, he apologizes and then she's okay again, and it's a very calm, nice relationship.
Yeah.
So so that sets up the ability for them to mock each other and laugh at what they think is quite good, I think.
Yeah. And she continues to wind him up and tease him, doesn't she? Because she's talking about how much he must miss in life, because he's always looking down and scanning the years, and no wonder he's got a bad back because all the years of detecting, looking down. And she's teasing him, and then it immediately cuts to the new scene, doesn't it? And it's fantastic the way it cuts to them both being detecting in the field.
Yeah.
Deep in thought.
Yeah, heads
down, listening to the tones, and then you can see the red arrows or something just coming over, fly past.
So loud as well.
Good. So good. It's like,
so funny.
You put your headphones on and you're in your own little world. Like whatever's going on over there just doesn't exist.
Yeah, does not exist. So yeah, they get a fly past about 10 foot above them, and Becky's coming towards them, and she sees it, and she's like, "Oh wow!" And then Andy spots her coming and has to lob a stone at Lance to get him out of his sort of trance of detecting, to say, "Oh, Sophie's coming." And then he's again a bit like, "Oh, what's she doing here?" So Becky has turned up and she's got some paperwork. So she's there to tell them both about, what she's found. But she's like, "Oh, did you organise that for me?" And she's trying to have a bit of a joke, and they're still completely unaware what she's talking about. They're like, "What are you on about?" They just don't know that the fly past has happened. So yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. It was funny. So Sophie starts asking they've both found a bunch of nails. So she's like, "What have you found?" They've both found like pretty new copper nails, haven't they? And it's a bit like, "Oh, that's a bit weird. Where are they coming from?"
Yeah.
But Sophie's done some research, and she doesn't think that he's buried there at all, does she? She's saying from her research, she thinks Sexred and his brothers went to fight the West Saxons, and they were slain in Wessex. So this is where Lance starts arguing his case, doesn't he? And he said, like, no. Well, yeah, that happened, but his body would have been brought back here. And she's like, impossible. Everybody died. And Lance is like, no. Some of them would have survived and brought him back and the treasure back. So they're having a bit of to and from, aren't they? When suddenly Lance notices something in the grass ahead of them. And he takes out his binoculars to have a look, and all you can see is the top of the hair of Simon and Garfunkel, can't you?
Like a grey sheep.
They're there. Yeah, before that, actually, it was really funny. And I hadn't thought about Charlie from Casualty for a very long time.
I love that. Just the completely random personality. And again, this is also quite Partridgean as well. Like, I've got everything about a partridge, and there's a couple of lots and lots of mentions of like random people that have been put into a situation. So, for instance, this is not an example from that, but it would be like, "Oh, I met Gloria Hunniford at an opening of Shoe Zone," or something completely like off the wall. Why on earth would Gloria Hunniford be doing anything to do with Shoe Zone? But then, so like this program about this Saxon king by Charlie from Casualty. It's just so random. It's just brilliant.
It is. It's brilliant, isn't it? So she's like, why are you so certain? It's because of Charlie from Casualty and the documentary. And then that's at the point.
You saw a documentary.
That's at the point that Lance sees something weird happening in the bushes further down in the field. So he gets out his binoculars and he sees Simon and Garfunkel in the long grass. To which they both immediately start teasing them again, don't they? And they're like, "Morning, ladies. Are you having a cuddle?" And they're like, "Oh, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything." And they stand up, and then you hear a bit of a rattle, and then Lance is like, "Hang on a minute, what's this?" And he finds all these nails at their feet, don't they? So they've obviously been going round and sabotaging the boys' dig on that day by lobbing a load of nails about. Poor play, poor sport. So then Lance starts to pretend to phone the police, doesn't he? Saying he's found a couple canoodling.
Look like Simon and Garfunkel. That's it, Mrs. Robinson.
That's it. So they're like, "We know you're not actually on the phone," but he continues and he does it very well. So they just sort of put their heads down and wander off, don't they? And then you suddenly hear the booming voice of Bishop, who's approaching. He's coming along. And he's saying, don't worry, the dogs won't bite. So again, we get to meet his invisible dogs, which aren't actually there. And Andy introduces Sophie. And Bishop's not too concerned by Sophie's presence, is he? He just says hello. So that's fine. And then he's come along with a little box of treasures, and he said, "I've been looking out for you." And he's found those bits and pieces he was alluding to earlier on in the episode, hasn't he? So it's at this point I was thinking, what's this going to be? And I remember the first time around thinking it was just going to be something like a broken spoon or something like that. But you get a glint, don't you? And there's nothing mistaking what would be Saxon gold and garnet gems and things in there.
It was a sword pommel, a clasp, and then it just nondescript bejeweled metal objects on the BBC script.
But, see, I've always wondered what was actually in there, because all I remember seeing is like the rectangular garnet and gold like cross thing, but I couldn't make out what it was, and I couldn't see the other things that were in there. But yeah, you can instantly tell that it's something nice. It's some nice treasure. And then he walks off saying, "Oh,
culturally significant."
Yeah, and then he walks off saying, "What do you think it's made of? A bit of brass?"
Yeah, exactly. And Lance is like, yeah, it's probably a bit of brass because he doesn't want him to know it's treasure. And you can see Sophie off at the sides, like she's desperate, isn't she, to say something? But Lance is like, no, yeah, and he tries to give it to Lance, doesn't he? And he's like, no, you keep that.
Yeah.
So then Bishop's wanders off, and then it's at that point they're all traipsing across the field after Lance. And Andy's saying, because Andy always wants to be transparent, wants to do the right thing. And he's like, we should tell him it's gold. And then Sophie's saying they've got a responsibility to report it. So Lance is like, he's not having any of it, is he?
Yeah. Old man Adam found it 40 years ago. So, yeah. I completely agree, though. It's not his responsibility. No. I don't know why the others gave him such a hard time for it.
No, it does bring up the whole, like, a really good argument about, like, the seriousness of reporting your finds to the FLO. But yeah, I agree. If someone else found it, it's up to them to report it. And then Lance says,
especially 40 years later.
Lance says, as soon as we find something, then we'll report it.
That's right. Yeah. So he says exactly that. He's not being shady. That's nothing to do with them. They're going to find the actual treasure, and then they'll report it and do it all properly. So he's happy with that, and that seems to settle Sophie and Andy as well. They're happy with that too. So he sets to, doesn't he? Much like the first episode, Lance has sort of jogged on to where he wants to start digging again, gets a signal immediately again, and they're both watching, thinking, oh, crumbs, has he done it? And then, he digs up whatever signal it is, and then he finds a lovely Ford Mustang car. And that's how they wrap up the episode, isn't it?
And once again, it goes full loop again, back to the start.
Exactly. And that's where we're left. So in this episode, we've had a few revelations, haven't we? We've had some hints that maybe Sophie isn't quite as squeaky clean as we think. And we've seen the treasure that's rolled up before on Bishop's permission. So the excitement's there now, isn't it? That something's there. And also we can't wait to see Lance's performance of his song.
Yeah, and meeting Garfunkel and Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
For the first time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's fun, and I'm looking forward to episode 3. So where's it going now? I can't remember what's happening. It's great. I've absolutely wiped the whole series from my head. So I'm thinking next week. I'm wondering if we're ever going to see them digging in the rain, because it's been far too perfect of conditions so far.
That's the only
too easy.
That's the only non-truth that I can find about that TV show. That it's always really nice weather.
Yeah, well, this was filmed, I think, in May of that year, according to the BBC script.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's and I think they probably chose mostly, decent days to do it.
Yeah, it's got to help, right? Continuity between shots and stuff. Exactly how soaked are you? Brilliant. So Ross, thank you so much for coming and being
Cheers,
an expert guest alongside me and Karl. And you're going to be back again, aren't you, for season 1, episode 5 in the rotation? So
yeah, and obviously I've got to watch episode 3 and 4 just to make sure that I know what's happened prior to
everything.
episode 5.
Yeah, and then next week we've got episode 3, and we will have Emma from M Love Old Stuff as well. So she'll be our third guest on rotation. So you've going to have met all the crew, dear listeners. We will be here for you or with you for the next 18 episodes. There's 20 episodes in total, so I can't wait to get through it. And then we're going to have an awesome wrap-up party at the end, aren't we? That's what I'm looking forward to. Awesome. Well, thank you, Karl. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you very much.
We'll catch you listeners on the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah.